Hello, everyone. So we left off talking about creating the Constitution, and now we're going to be talking about the overview of the Constitution really quickly. So let's get to it. So let's just briefly take a look at the 8 parts of the Constitution. This should be a definite review for you from civics and economics. First, you have the preamble. This states the purpose of the Constitution. Maybe you've seen the Schoolhouse Rock video. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, It's laying out the purpose of the Constitution. You have Article 1 describing the legislative, and then executive, and then judicial. Article 4 explains the relations between the states. 5 is the lengthy amendment process. Article 6 is the supremacy of national government, and then 7 covers the ratification process. Now, here we are going to be definitely reviewing some things from civics. Here are some key ideas from the Constitution. You have federalism. This is sharing the power between state and federal governments, as we've talked about previously. Some of the events that led up to the writing of the Articles of Confederation and then changing it into what was the Constitution, there were some issues with sharing power between the two. Then you have separation of powers with those different branches between the legislative, with Congress, the executive, and then the judicial as separate entities. Checks and balances. This goes all the way back to world history. We talked about this. Each branch is restrained in powers, so one doesn't become more powerful than the other. So you don't have the executive branch overpowering the legislative or judicial. They have certain powers, each does, so it limits them for becoming too powerful. Then you also have popular sovereignty, which we will talk about quite a bit, especially leading up to the Civil War way later in this class, saying that those that are chosen to govern by the people will govern, and they will do what's best for the people. Then for republicanism, we talked about this in the last video, that the republic is the best form of government, and it's what's going to represent the people. Now, the powers of the federal government, these are some of those that are listed. I'll give you some examples. For the enumerated powers, one good way to remember where they're located, these are the specific powers defined in Article 1, Section 8. So don't laugh, it's very lame, but it's Article 1, Section 8, enumerated power. You might remember it now. And so these are powers that for example, like declaring war given to Congress. You have concurrent powers. These are by the federal and the state governments. If someone says, if you are, let's say that you're talking about, if you like a certain TV show and someone says, I concur, you both hold that same feeling. So you have both federal and state governments have these powers, like building roads and creating lower courts. Then you have the reserve powers. These powers are reserved or kept by the states, like education and driver's licenses. If you look at your driver's license, if you don't have one yet, look at someone else's. It's going to say North Carolina on it. Then you have implied powers. These are powers not specifically stated, but justified by the necessary and proper clause, also known as the elastic clause. One example of these is the military draft. Okay, so the Bill of Rights. These are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. So this should be a big time review also from civics. So in here you have different amendments like freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, the right to bear arms, also protections like from unreasonable search and seizure, the right to a fair and speedy trial, trial by jury, other things like that. You don't have to memorize the Bill of Rights for this class. However, I will put this link below so you can take a look at the Bill of Rights. So after the Bill of Rights, the Constitution is finally ratified whenever they have their 9th signee. And so North Carolina and Rhode Island are the last 2 states to sign. And like discussed in the last video, Rhode Island had issues with the Constitution because they felt that the states were not given enough power and that they didn't explicitly um, protect freedom of religion, which was one of the key tenets with the founding of the Rhode Island colony. But eventually they do sign, and all is well. So, amending the Constitution is extremely difficult. It is a very lengthy process, and there are 27 total amendments. Now, this is including the Bill of Rights, the first 10. And so it is a living and working document. It is considered to be the oldest working constitution, so it can still be altered up to this point. But for the most part, it has remained the same since 1787. All right, everyone. So that's all for today's notes. They were pretty short because I decided to divide the Constitution into 2 days. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.